Hi, I'm Tony Madonia, and this is another one of our videos on selling your company. This video deals with documenting the sale. So in documenting the sale, there's several documents that are prepared that serve many different purposes. The biggest document is either the asset sale agreement or the stock sale agreement, depending on if you're selling stock or assets. That agreement contains language on what assets are being sold for an asset sale, what assets are not being sold. Typically, there's assets that are excluded. Oftentimes, it's personal property. Maybe it's a particular car that the seller wants to retain. It could be anything. We once had a situation where the company had a skybox for the Chicago Bears, and the seller said, I want to keep that. It's been in the family for a long time. I really want to preserve that. The buyer said, well, no, we want to buy that because we want to use it to entertain clients and entertain vendors, and that's an important part of this deal for us. And ultimately, the buyer and seller parted ways without a transaction. The seller said, I really want to keep that. I don't need to sell the company that bad, and I'm going to keep the company and the skybox. And they did, and as far as I know, he still owns the company. So it can be, strange things like that make a deal come apart. It can be other strange things that make a deal come together. In any event, we have to decide exactly what's being sold and what's being not sold. We also have to decide how the payment price is going to be paid. Oftentimes it's cash. Sometimes there is seller financing. Sometimes there's investor money that's brought in, that's tendered at closing. But we have to decide exactly how will it be paid for. The toughest part about documenting the sale is what we call the reps and warranties section. So the representations and warranties typically of the seller are the sticky part. What are representations and warranties? It's the seller representing that the company is not being sued, which we can check that pretty easily. It's representing that the company is not under any threat of being sued. And typically companies will have disputes about invoices, will have disputes about employee matters, things like that. Everyone threatens to sue everyone. If that threat is real, that has to be disclosed and flushed out. And exactly what does that mean? Representations about the condition of the business assets. Representations that the company is not in danger of losing its major clients. Well, customers and clients tend to come and go in many businesses, and representing that all of your biggest customers are going to stay with the company for some period of time, that's quite impossible. Nobody knows that for sure. It's those sorts of things that have to be flushed out, and exactly what is the buyer buying and what condition is that in. The other sticky part is generally the holdback provisions, and holdbacks are pieces of money that are placed in escrow that the buyer wants there to give them comfort that something that potentially was a risk has a pool of money behind it to pay for it if it does become real. For example, if there is a lawsuit pending and the company is being sued for $200,000, the buyer might require that amount of money, that amount of sale proceed that would otherwise go to the sellers, be put in an escrow account so that if the results of the lawsuit are not positive, there's money behind it to pay for that. Holdbacks can cover environmental issues if there's real estate. They can cover inventory issues if there's inventory. They can cover any manner of risk that the buyer perceives that they're not comfortable with. Of course, sellers don't like holdbacks. Sellers want all their money so that there's nothing to argue about in the future. But for certain situations, holdbacks make sense, and we've negotiated lots of holdback agreements on behalf of buyers and sellers. On some level, the documents that are signed at the closing, we hope that they're put in a desk drawer and that they never come out again, because if somebody has to decipher exactly what the nitty-gritty of those documents are, that means that there's a problem, and we really try to head those off during the sale process. Again, ideally, those documents don't see the light of day again, and both parties are happy with the transaction after it's closed. That's the documentary process. There's one more video in the series, and we hope that you'll join us for that. Thank you.